ASEAN University. Today, we will learn more about EBSCO database on Discovery Services, EBSCO eBooks, and also EBSCO Research databases. As you all know, EBSCO is one of the database subscribed by the AeU that will help you to identify the most relevant and reliable academic content. EBSCO database includes subject in business, economics, computer science, education, social science, and more. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any question during the session, please type them into the question box in your Zoom. Okay, now without further ado, we will turn the time over to the invited speaker. Our presenter today is Ms. J. Yurdakul, the training specialist from the EBSCO Information Services. Please welcome Ms. J. Yurdakul.
Well, thank you, Ms. Husna, for that presentation, that introduction. So hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Jay, and I'm just going to be sharing my screen with you. So I'll just start sharing my screen. So there's a portion of this that will be a presentation, and then we will go into a live demonstration of the EBSCO databases. And then from there, at the end, there's also going to be a quiz as well. Okay, but to get started, I'd like to go through the main objectives of the session. So by the end of today's session, you will be able to describe and access AeU University's EBSCO resources, construct and apply search strategies to locate information and research, apply facets and limiters to refine your search results, access full text and other request options, use the My EBSCO folder to save, document and share research, save, email, print or export portions of an ebook, check out and download an ebook to read offline, and also locate help and support materials. So I always like to present a slide on the benefits of using EBSCO resources over a free internet search. It's often very tempting to go straight to Google or just go straight to the web to find information, but it's quite beneficial to go to EBSCO as your starting point and as your main source of information for your research. And so the main reasons why are outlined in this slide. So just really quickly to summarize, with EBSCO resources, you're getting content that's authoritative. So it's high quality, it's reliable, it's written by experts. Often the content has gone through rigorous peer review or systematic review, and it's really intended to meet the requirements of your assignment. So a lot of the content here is the content that your lecturers will be looking for. The second thing I point out is the relevance. So you may be aware when you search on Google, it's using your location, it's using your search history to pull the results that it thinks you want to see. Whereas if you go on EBSCO, the results are ranked according to relevance. So it looks at your search words and it links it to the title of the articles, the subject terms indexed for those articles, if there's a match with the author, with the abstract, so the summary of the article, and so on. So it's matching up the key parts of the article that describe that article back to your keywords. Now, the third thing I do like to point out is with EBSCO resources, you have added features such as limiters and filters, so you can narrow down your results to get better accuracy. And you won't find that if you're just on the free internet. And lastly, I'd like to point out as well that you can save your searches. So you can set up a My EBSCO folder and you can add content to that folder and you can return to that in additional sessions. Okay. If at any point you have questions throughout the session, you're welcome to unmute or use the chat box, and I'm happy to answer questions as well. Now, The next thing is how to access your e-resources. So it's really important to know where they're located and how to get to them. So I've popped up here the URL to your library website. So from the library website, and we'll just go into the live environment to demonstrate. So here we are on the live AeU University Library website. And so there's two things I want to point out. So on the main menu, going horizontally towards the top, there's a resources submenu. And when you click on it, the drop-down options include your subscribed online databases. So if you click on that, it then takes you to the library gateway and you sign in with your student number, or if you're a staff, your staff number, and then your password. If you don't remember your password or you've forgotten it, there is a I forgot my password option here. And if you're having any issues, there's also a way to report a problem. But I'm just going to log in with my test account here and I sign in. And so now it takes me to the secure gateway with all the resources that need to be accessed through using your credentials. So from here, you can see my menu options available. And so the main one is my online databases. I click on that, or I click on here, online databases, more info. And now I can see, tells me what are the databases I subscribe to, what might be trial access, and what's open access. And I can see my EBSCO collections popping up at the top here. So my ebook collections. Then as I scroll down, it starts showing my journal collections as well. But I can also use the search field. So if I search education source, and that's one of the, actually, sorry about that. So if I just type in EBSCO as well, I can also get to the resources. So I can see all the resources, and the one I wanted to get to was Education Research Complete. So I can just type EBSCO to do that, to get to all the EBSCO content. And I can see in this table on the right-hand side, it says what are the main subjects in each of those either ebook collections or databases. And there's also a summary as well. And so from there, you could click on a database to then launch into that database. So if I click on Business Source Complete, it will then launch into Business Source Complete for me. So it might just take a bit of time for me, but we will return to that a bit later on as well. So I might we'll return to that. But the first place we're going to stop at is really the one search. So I'll just go back a few steps. So back on the library website, if I scroll down, here's my one search. And I can also find EBSCO resources using this one search as well. So that's where we'll start the demonstration. So at EBSCO, that's the EBSCO Discovery Interface, that one search. And I just want to point out some of the different types of EBSCO resources we're exploring today. So the EBSCO Discovery Service, which is known as One Search here, it's searching across all of your library's collections. So it will search both information or books, print books in the catalogue, and it will show you the number to help find it, the call number to find it on the shelves. And it's also going to show you your digital resources and databases, such as your EBSCO database content. There's a research starters articles as well, and they can give you overviews of different topics. So we'll look at that. You can access publications. So you can access different journals and search by a journal name, and you can create folders as well. In EBSCO host research databases, so this is when it's more targeted, so it's more subject specific. And it does include the advanced searching functionality if you want to do a more sophisticated search. And you can also use the thesaurus or the controlled vocabulary as well. There are image collections, folders, and you can browse by publication as well. And then finally, with the EBSCO eBooks, so what you'll get in these collections are full cover-to-cover ebooks on a range of different topics relevant to what you'd be studying. You can browse, so you can browse by category, or you can browse the highlights, or you can type in keywords to search for titles. And you can read those online using your browser, or you can download those ebook titles and read them offline. And you would just need to install a third-party software to do that. It's mobile friendly, and you can export chapters and pages to PDF as well. Okay, so regardless of what database you search or how you search, there are 3 key steps to think about. So this is how we break it down. The first thing is the search. So how do you want to structure your search? What is your research question? Picking out the keywords from your research question, thinking about the relationship between the keywords. How can you convert those into search terms? And what little strategies or tips can you use? Like, how do you search in a phrase? How do you use a truncation tool? Or how do you use Boolean operators? And the next slide will talk about that in a bit more detail. Then the next thing is, once you start that search, you'll get your results. And from your results, you'll have your filter options on the left-hand side of the results, and you can use those to narrow down and refine the results and make it more accurate to what you're looking for. And then finally, it's about browsing through those results, finding articles, saving articles, exporting the citation, and so on. Okay, so I did mention just before that when you're searching, you do want to use some tips and tricks. And so this is where you might apply things like a Boolean, a truncation, wildcards, and field codes. So these Boolean operators will build different types of relationships between your keywords. So depending on whether you want to search, make a connection with 2 or more words, if you want to make a connection, you use the word and as a Boolean command, and that will ensure that those words are searched together. So it searches across both of them, and each result will contain both of them. So let's say I'm looking for marketing articles, but I want it in the context of a small business environment. I would use the and to make sure it's including both of those and narrowing down accordingly. I can also use the or, and the or is if I'm interchanging between 2 or more words. So this is where you might be searching for words as synonyms or as similar terms. So for example, I'm looking for articles about marketing, but it might also be referred in the article as promotion. So or it might be referred to as advertising. So I want to get either of those kinds of articles. So this is when you might think outside the box and think about, when people write articles, are they using different words to convey the same thing? So not every person uses the same words, even though they might be talking about pretty much the same thing. So or can be a way to capture different articles that use different words to convey the same thing. Then finally, there's the not. So the not is when you want to reduce the search results. So you have like maybe the broad kind of search, but you want to narrow down to something more specific. So for example, you might be searching for marketing, but you don't want to search for all forms of marketing. So you don't want to search for viral marketing, for example. So you could go marketing, not viral. And so we'll make sure that the word viral is not included in those results about marketing. Okay, if there's any questions about any of that, let me know. Then there are some other tips you can apply. So the truncation word stem is represented by an asterisk. And so what that does is you can start searching the beginning of a word, then you can apply an asterisk, and then it will retrieve anything else that shares the same beginning, but might end a bit differently. So basically a word that's a variation of a term. So econom, asterisk, will retrieve economy, economics, economical, and so on, or economists, and so on. So if you want to be able to capture all of those variations without having to type them out one after the other, you can do a shortcut here, and that can save you some time. The single character wildcard is represented by a question mark. So it will substitute whatever is represented by the question mark. So if you ever play like a card game or a board game that includes wildcards, you would be familiar with the idea of the substitution. So for example, the word woman, if I use a question mark where either the A or the E would normally go, I will get both of those in my results. And so that way you can expand out to the variations of a word as well. The other one is the multiple character wildcard. So same thing as the one above, except this is if there's 2 or more characters you want to substitute. So you've got the hashtag here. So I want to search behavior, but there's either 2 or more characters that are different in the word if I want to search for either the American spelling or the British spelling. And I want to make sure I capture both, and I can use the hash to capture that. And the last one I want to point out is the phrase search. So this is represented by quotation marks. So in between the quotation marks, you just put in the words you want to search together in that order. So searching for it as a phrase. So the example here has competitive advantage. The next thing is that what we normally do when you search is you might do an unqualified search. So unqualified search would search across all different types of fields. It will search across the title, the subject, the author, the journal name, and so on. But if you want to do something that we call a qualified search, where you only search within one of these fields, you can use these field codes. So if I just want to search for a title of an article, I can write TI and then the title of that article or the title of that book. And I can do that again for subject, author, and journal name. So if you really want to limit to just that kind of focus and retrieve like a very specific result back, that's how you would do that. Okay, so we're going to jump into OneSearch. So that's the discovery platform. And let's say we want to look for articles on the topic of constructivism. So this is where you can apply a very simple keyword search and then use some limiters to narrow down that focus. Okay, so I'm on the OneSearch. I type in constructivism and I enter, and it will take me to the environment of that discovery platform, and it'll give me some more options. Now, when you go from here to the next page, you'll notice that you're a guest. So you haven't yet signed into the institution. So in order to read the full text, you do have to sign in. So I click on sign in where it shows me welcome guest at the very top. And then it will let me sign in through the library gateway. So let me see. Just wait for that to load. Now, because I already signed in earlier under resources, subscribed online databases, the gateway has recognized that. So it's like a single sign-in. So it already knows I'm logged in. So when I click on that, it will then load up the page really quickly from there if I've already signed in earlier. But if I was signing in for the first time just through the OneSearch, it would take me to that library gateway. So just something to think about. Okay, so I typed in constructivism and I've logged in and I've refreshed my page. And I did mention earlier that you have these research starters. So a lot of different searches, especially if I'm searching for a concept or a theory, in this case, I'm searching for like a learning style theory, I will possibly get a research starter. And they're basically going to give you an overview of the topic. So if I click on more in this research starter, I'll get a really good summary of that concept. So that's like a really excellent starting point, especially if you're a first year student and you're just being introduced to concepts that you may not have been aware of before. It's good to access these when they're available. So it gives you an overview of the concept. And as you can see, it does include citations as well. So you can see that it hasn't just been from the author's mind. They've actually looked at the literature and the research to write up this topic overview. And so you could always go back to the original sources as well if you want more information. So as you scroll through, you can see it is quite detailed, but it's also very easy to follow as well. And it just goes through some key people in constructivism and some key, parts of the history timeline, and then just some further information as well. So it's all broken down into these subheadings, which is really good. And as I mentioned, at the very end, you do see that bibliography. So you can then go in And you can see some of this is already in the EBSCO database. So that's really easy, and it's given you the link so you could easily go and look these up. So just something that's really good to point out as well. Now with this research starter, it is in HTML full text. And so there's a couple of benefits to HTML full text. You can translate the page into a different language if you wanted to. And you can also use the text to speech. So that's the listen option just below the title in the HTML document. And I can listen to the audio. So for anyone who requires to listen to it, they can do that, or if they prefer to listen. And so there's also a menu on the left of that text-to-speech option. And I want to point out that there is a way to download this MP3 offline. So if you want to listen to this offline, you always can as well. A couple of other things I want to point out that you'll also find in all the different article documents here is that you do have a tools menu on the right-hand side. And so you can actually save this to Google Drive, so the cloud integration there. You can save this to your EBSCO folder. So we'll go into my EBSCO folder a little bit later, but if you sign into my EBSCO folder, you can store this for future sessions. And you can print or email or save. You can also grab the auto-generated citation. So if I click on the site, it will then launch for me the citation formats available. So for example, if I use APA 7th, here is the auto-generated citation. Now, just something to remember, always consult your library guidelines for the exact formatting. Because this is auto-generated, sometimes it might not be 100% accurate, and it's important to proofread and still learn about referencing and develop your referencing understanding. You can also export. So if you are using any export bibliographic management software, so if you're using EasyBib, if you're using Zotero or Mendeley or EndNote, RefWorks and so on, you can also export this out to those tools. You can also download the CSV and export to Excel if you wanted to. So just another way to store the information. And you can create a note as well. So I can click create new note, it'll just load for me. And then I can start to write an annotation here. So just to help, if I've got some interesting notes about this article that I'm reading and I want to make a note, and then I can then store it into my folder and go back and access that note. I can also grab a permalink. So if I do want to share this with other people, or I want to save it in the link somewhere, I can grab that link. Okay, so those are the main things I want to point out. And if I want to return to my search, I can click back here, just above, and it can take me back to my results list. Now, there were some other things I wanted to explore in this result list. So I want to then limit the results. So if I want to do that, I just use the column on the left-hand side to refine my results. So here I've got these options to limit. So if I wanted to, I can limit to full text. I could limit to peer reviewed. I can also limit the publication date range. So I'm going to have a starting point of 2019. I'll press enter, and it'll reduce my results and then update with the new, the narrow set of results. So now there's only 8,000 results. And if I want to narrow, I can keep going. So let's say I only want to see academic journals. You can see under source type that there's a whole range of different kind of content I can view. So I can view academic journals. Maybe I want to view some theses, reports, books, magazine content. And if I click on show more, it will let me know if there are other document types I can view. So maybe I want to view some conference materials or some eBooks and so on. But let's say I'm narrowing down to academic journals. Again, it will update for me. And now I'll only be seeing the academic journal content. And the last thing I want to do is I want to narrow down to a particular database, and I can do that from the one search as well. So I don't have to go into an individual database. Under, again, my refine results, if I scroll down to the bottom, it says content provider, and I can narrow down to a particular database. So if I go show more, it will show me the full list, and I can sort this alphabetically by name by clicking on name, and I can see, oops, I have education research complete. So I'm just going to only tick that option and update. And so all the articles I will see will be coming from that specific database. So just give it time to update for me. And so now it's reduced to that database. So there are other options I have available here. So where I have the full text option, I can click on that to view the full text. So I've got articles that are in PDF full text mostly. Some articles will also contain HTML full text. And the other kind of thing you may notice is there's the full text finder. So that is a link resolver. So if it can't take me to the article directly, it will use the full text finder to see what other options are available to access the full text. So if I click on that, it takes me to a new page with a full text finder form. So I'll just wait for that to open for me. And it says I can use these other two options to find the article. So I could click on either one of those and then access the article. Okay, but let's say I am interested in this second one, constructivism, fast thinking. I've got a few options available even from the search results. So if I really like the search I've run, where it says share to the right, I could actually add these results to my folder. Maybe I want to view them a bit later. Maybe I don't have much time at the moment. I could add the search itself to a folder. And so I could run that search easily again in future sessions. And I could also, if I wanted to, set up an email alert so that I receive an email when there are new results from that search. So I just need to be signed in, but I could set that up as well. So if I click on email alert, and I just need to make sure I'm signed in, but then I could just say, I want to see maybe once a month an alert for new content. Or maybe if I've got, maybe I want to do it once a week because it's a semester and I need it to be quicker and so on. And I can save that alert once I've signed in. I'll just quickly show you now. So if I sign in, and this is that My EBSCO folder options. So just wait a little bit. So this is a personal user sign in. So if I don't have an account, I would go sign up. And then I can either sign up with Google if I have a Google email address, or I can use my perhaps student email address to sign in. Once I've done all of that and I get an email to confirmation, I could then sign in. So I've linked my Google account, so I'm going to sign in with that. So just put in my Google account and it will now sign me in accordingly. So once I've signed in and I go back to the alert page, so just wait for that to load. So you can see now I am signed in. And now it just gives me the option to provide an email address. So if I want an alert to my email, I just pop that in there and I can save the alert. Okay, so let's say I'm interested going back to the article itself. I want to click on an article and I want to point out a couple of things from the detailed record of an article. So when you're on this detailed record, and you can access that by clicking the title, you can actually run some additional searches. So if I want, I could search for the author's name. I can see what other articles that they may have published available in the database or in the interface. And I can see it's showing me in bold other things that they have written that I might want to view. Just go back again one step, and I can also run a search. I can look up the source, so the publication, the journal, and I can run some searches on subject terms and author supplied keywords. And like before, I've got those tools options available. And when I want to access the PDF full text, I just click on it. So the benefit of PDF over HTML is that it does come with page numbers. So the HTML didn't have any page numbers. It's just on a web page, but PDF opens up in a PDF viewer, and I'll get the page number information. Oh, normally I can, okay, this might not be the best example, but normally I can get, oh, I can see where it is now, sorry. So the page numbers are just on the sides. Usually they're either at the bottom or the top. This one's just a bit more unique, but yeah, so once you see that page number and you want to cite a quote, you could grab that page number and use that for citations. You can also look at other articles from that same journal, that same issue of that journal. So on the left-hand side, because often in a journal, they often write each issue based around a theme, or maybe there are similar things explored in that same issue. So it can be worthwhile looking at other articles from that same issue. And if you liked the journal and you want to look for it more broadly, you can always choose another issue on the left-hand menu and choose another date. So I can go into 2021, for example, and maybe I want to see November 2021, and it will then load up with that issue. And okay, normally, let me see if I can get another issue. Okay, so, and it will open up with that issue, and I can start to read through the articles from that issue. Okay, so okay, the next thing I want to do is a search that requires you to use the search history functionality. So let's say you are doing an essay about Generation Z in the workplace. And so to find articles, you want to combine both of those terms. So I would recommend going into the advanced search. And this is where you can start to look for similar terms. So I'll clear that search from before. I'm after Gen Z, so I can type in Gen Z in the first line in the advanced search, but maybe I want to look for variations, so synonyms. So I'll type Gen Z or Generation Z or post-millennials. So I'm looking for using the OR to search either of these terms and looking for different ways to convey the same thing. Then I will search that. I won't look at the results just yet because I want to then add the second part to the search. So I'll look at my search results. That's great. I'll clear the search again. So clear that search again. And the next part is workplace. So I can type in the word workplace, or maybe I want to type in the word workforce. Now, if I don't know other variations, a little tip I want to show you is that if I type in or, the autocomplete then starts to show me other versions or other synonyms that I might want to use in my search. So it starts to tell me other ways I could do it. But I'll just leave it at that, workplace or workforce, again, using the Boolean operator, and I'll search that. Okay, and so I've done my two searches separately, but I'm going to combine them using search history. So to combine those, and I'll just clear that out again. So always remember to clear out the words after the search. Then I would go into search history. So search history has a few different functions. Search history could be a way to combine different terms together. As you can see here, it shows you what you've searched for in the same session before. You can always go straight back into the results at any time, or you can edit that search and make it a bit different if it didn't work out for you. So it is quite useful. Now, what we're going to do is, you can see here, I did my Gen Z search and I did my workplace search. I'm going to tick both of those searches, and I'm going to see here the button that says search with and I'm going to click on that. And so you will see in the search box, just when it loads, that it's combined the Gen Z search was search 3 and the workplace search, which was S4. So it's using this code to indicate it's combined those two searches. See the search ID. And as I scroll down, I can start to look through my results. And I can start to get a better understanding of how Generation Z is it will be in the workplace, perhaps from like as a manager of Gen Z or as a leader of them, and I want to know how to work with them. I can start to see a lot of this literature that talks about Gen Z in the workplace, and I can start to go through that. And if I did really like this search, of course, I could always add it as a folder to my folder or add some of the results. Okay, so really quickly, just going back to that My EBSCO folder, once I've signed in, I can go into my EBSCO folder and I can review what I've added to my folder. And so there's a few things I can do. So if there's some articles I have here and I want to export them to a bibliographic management software, I can bulk export. So if I tick on all these articles that I've just saved and I go to export, and it then tells me I'm going to export 36 items and where do I want to export it. So that can be a good way if I want to export them. But I can see other things in my folder. So I can see what articles I saved, and I can see things like if I created any notes. So I mentioned the note option before. So I can click on that and see I created a note before. If I have searches saved, I can click on persistent link to searches. And then I can go back, copy that and go back into that search. Or I can email those searches to an email if I want to. And if I created any search alerts or any alerts for journals as well. And we'll go into journal alerts a little bit later as well. So just a few things to point out there. But the next thing I want to do is I want to go back again to my subscribed online databases, because the next thing, so I'll just sign in again, because the next thing I want to talk about is some of those more specific databases that you can access. In particular, I'll probably be talking about Business Source Complete. So going back to my slides, EBSCO host databases, I've got a slide here that just basically summarizes all your different databases. So I want you to sort of use this as a reference to see what's included in each. But of course, this information is also on your portal. And so some more of those databases you subscribe to. Our main focus is going to be around Business Source Complete because it does have some interesting additional features when searching through it. So you can search, for example, for company information and profiles. You can also search for country reports, which can be really useful if you do a PESTLE analysis, so a political, economical, social, technological, and so on analysis. It's important to get information about a country. Case studies and browsing publications. So again, I'm going to go to Business Source Complete, and I'll just let that load for me. Okay, so now I'm in Business Source Complete, and I want to search for company information and profile. So the company information option is on the top menu, third option along. If I just look for company information, I can then type in the name of a company and find some data on them. So I'm going to type in Malaysia Airlines Berhad, and I'll search for that. And in my results, it should come up as the first result there. So I can see that there. Now, if it has offices in other countries, it will also break that down, but I'm interested in the Malaysian part of the company. So I click on the first option there. I can already see at a glance the revenue, but I can go into this information and I can see some company data as I scroll down. So information about financials like the revenue, the executive team, so the total of how many employees there are. And I can see what industry it comes under. So I could run a search on the industry. You can see these are hyperlinked. And if there's any other information that might be of use to me, I can access some of that here. So it gives me some good information at a glance, and I can always use my tools to save and export that information. But I can also see who's the ultimate parent, who's the domestic ultimate and the headquarter. So I can sort of see the breakdown there as well. And it also gives me a link to the website if I want to explore the website from here and what the line of business is. So this can be really useful. Another thing you can do, again on that menu, if we click under more, the drop down, there are also company profiles that give us some really good analysis of the company and some more information. So again, I want to search that same company, Malaysia Airlines Berhad, and I put my search in. Again, it's come up as the first result, and there's a report that I can access in PDF. So I click on that, and it will launch for me the PDF, and I can start to go through the key content. And I'll just quickly show you the table of contents. So an overview of the company, some key facts, description of the business, its history, employees, products and services, which would be really useful if you're doing a marketing report. There's also a SWOT analysis. So if you are studying business strategy, this would be very important. Likewise, top competitors can be really important information too. I might just quickly jump into the SWOT analysis because often students are interested in this information. So the SWOT analysis, of course, goes through strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats in that business. And it then gives me a further analysis of each of those categories. So I can download this PDF offline if I wish. And it can be very crucial information if you're doing an analysis of a company's environment. Okay, so other things I did mention that you can do find country reports and industry profiles. So I'm going to go over to new search. And this time, if I'm looking for a country, I can go to the next one down. So I'm in basic search, but if I go into advanced search, it does give me additional options, including field codes. So this is where we talked about before about the qualified search. So I could type in Malaysia as a keyword, and then under select a field, I've got the geographic term. So I'm looking for it as a geographic location, and I'm looking for results that are specific to Malaysia. So I click on search, and I'll get a lot of different results. So this can be good if I want to look for academic journals, but let's say I'm looking for country reports. You can see under source type, I've got the option country reports. I tick on that and I can narrow down to some of those country reports. And these are really good for either a PEST or PESTLE analysis. So a lot of these reports you can see in the subjects talk about the economic development of the country and political systems. Now, this can also be really useful if you're doing international business subjects and you want to look for a different country. So you want to look for business with the United States or business with Singapore. You can apply the same kind of strategy. You just change the word Malaysia to Singapore, Hong Kong, South Africa, wherever it may be. And you can pull the same kind of information. So again, as I mentioned, there's all these different country reports and you can see they are up to date. So this is last edited or added in 2021. So a lot of these publishers will release one of these every year where possible. So it's good to look back at these as well. And I'll just quickly click on this one, for example, to show you a little bit more about it. So if I click on the PDF full text, you can sort of see what's included. So you can see it's talking about political data here. And as I scroll through, so it's breaking that down to different aspects politically, and there'll be different aspects economically as well as I scroll through. So you can see here then is the economic breakdown. So the forecast, the trends. You've got some graphs as well about GDP, inflation, which can be really useful. And so you can keep going through financial indicators and so on. And I did mention it's like a PESTLE, so you can also see legal, so legal conditions. And as you scroll through, you know, environmental business regulation legally, operational as well, which could include technological and infrastructure, security, and so on. So there's like a lot of different sections here that's really useful if you're doing that kind of macroeconomic analysis. Now, aside from the country reports, I'll go back one step. So aside from those country reports, you can also find industry profiles. So if under my current search, I don't want to limit to country reports anymore. I now want to limit to industry profiles. I go back to that previous search that included all source types. And then under source types, under more, I should be able to access industry profiles. So you can see here, industry profiles. Another good one to look at as well as market research reports. So I might just tick both of those and update, and I can start to go through those results. And so industry profiles is if I want to get a higher level overview of the industry itself, of different industries. And I want to know things that you would probably find if you're doing a Porter's 5 forces analysis. So if you're looking for things like barriers to entry into that industry, if you're looking at some of those key drivers, some of those key products, who are the key markets and so on, these reports are really useful. Okay, I did mention as well, if you want, you can find case studies. So I'm going to clear my search, and let's say I'm looking at the retail industry. So I can do a keyword unqualified search on the retail industry. Now, if I go back to, so under limit to as an option, if I go show more, it shows me some of those limiters that I can use. So under show more, there's a limiter here called publication type, and it can break down some different types of publications in further detail. So we did talk about things like country report and so on. You can look for grey literature, government documents, SWOT analysis. And if you want to look for case study, you just tick that box, highlight that area, and then update your search. And now it will only look for retail industry as a case study. So case studies of retail industries. So if I'm doing fashion retailers, high street, I can see a case study here, and I can see some other ones and so on, all around different aspects of the retail industry. Now, the next one is the publication search. So if I click on publications in the top menu, I can actually search for specific journals or magazines. A really popular one is Harvard Business Review that you can access directly from Business Source Complete. And Harvard Business Review is really appealing. It's all around the business industry, and it's published quite frequently, and it's really up to date. So when something new happens in the world of business, Harvard Business Review will be covering it. So from this publication view, I've got options. I mentioned earlier, you can also create a journal alert. So we talked about search alert, but if you sign in, you can also create an email alert. So you'll see a similar box. You just need to sign in so you can put your email address, and then you can save an alert so that every time there's new articles published from Harvard Business Review, you'll get an email about it. So that could be really useful if you want to keep up to date. And so lecturers often will encourage you to look for journals such as Harvard Business Review. But of course, once you're on this page, you might also want to just grab a link so you can easily return to this page. So this is the link to use if you want to bookmark it. And then under all issues and articles, you can always go into the most recent issue, or you can go backwards into the earliest issue and so on. You can also have the view of search within this publication. So, and it will only search within that specific journal. So you can see here, the search is telling me it's just searching this journal. So JN means only within that field. I click on search, and I can see all the articles from the journal. But of course, I could always add something to my search if I wanted to. So what I could do from here, there's a few options. Under the refined results, under subject, I could narrow down to a specific subject. Maybe I'm looking for articles on strategic planning, and I can tick that, and it will update to show me articles where strategic planning is a key part of the article. Okay, I'm going to go back to my new search. The last thing I want to show you in Business Source Complete is that you can use the subject terms to do more advanced searches. So we're going to go into advanced search, and you may notice there is a tick box for suggest subject terms, and you can use that to search the business thesaurus and to search to get that most accurate and precise searching back. So I've got a research question in the next slide. My question is, how does corporate culture impact job performance in small businesses? And so in my first search, I'm looking at corporate culture, but I'm looking at it as a subject term. So if I type corporate culture, but I tick suggest subject terms and I go search, it's actually going to launch into the subject thesaurus. And I can see now, if I type corporate culture, there is an equivalent subject term. So this is the subject indexed in the database. So basically every article will have subjects assigned to it. And I want to look for articles that have corporate culture assigned to it. Now, if I explode this and it ticks that automatically, what it means is it's also going to search for any narrower terms. So I'm going to add that to my search. And so it doesn't just look for corporate culture, it looks for a narrower term, and I can go search. Okay, so that's search number one. We're going to use search history again. Search number two, so I'll clear that search, is job performance. So I type that in. I go suggest subject terms and search. It takes me again to thesaurus. I've got subject, job performance. I want to add that to my search. Okay, and search. But I don't want to just, this time I don't want to just search job performance as a subject term. Let's say I want to combine it and search across as a keyword as well. So if I want to do that, oops. Sorry about this. So I can type it again, but this time I just go or, and I just want to search that as a keyword. I could do that as well. So I could do both subject search, keyword search combined if I wanted to. And the next thing, so I'm going to clear that again. The next thing I'm searching for is small business. So I type in small business. Again, I'm ticking suggest subject terms. And I can see here there's small business, and I can search for other additional narrow terms. Add that to my search. And I'll search that, and you can see it's searching across all these different related terms. Okay, so I'll clear all those. And again, going to my search history. So clear. So I don't want to carry any of the previous searches. So clear. And I can see here, there was the corporate culture search, job performance, both keyword and subject search, and then the small business search, search with and then I'll see what results I get from there. And as I scroll down, it shows me all the different results I've grabbed from there. And if I want to, maybe 8 results is too small, I can always change some of these searches. So maybe I want to do some of these as subject terms and some of these as keyword terms and so on. So I've got different options available. Okay, the next thing, while we still have a bit of time, there's also Education Research Complete that I wanted to show you a little bit of information about. I can go back to my library gateway and search EBSCO, and I can go to my Education Research Complete from there, or if I'm already in Business Source Complete or I'm already in one database, I can click Choose Databases and I can go to the other database. So if I'm looking at Education Research Complete, for example, but I also want to look for Child Development and Adolescent Studies, I might tick both of those. So or I might also tick the eBook Education Collection, so I can search multiple databases together. So I'm just searching Education Research Complete on its own. And I just want to show you some options available. Sometimes it carries on the previous search. Okay, so I'm looking for online learning. So I've got online learning, but I want to look for case studies on online learning. So again, it's like when we did with the business source. We run the search, and then under the refine results, under limit to, I can click on show more. And under publication type, actually, sorry, with this one, what I would do instead is I go back to advanced search and it will show me all the options I can use. So with this one, I'd go to advanced search. It gives me all my search options, and then it will show me additional options. So this is under document type. So under document type, there's a option for case study, and then I search, and that's how I can limit down to case study. And so now, oops, these are all my results about case studies. So you can see here, if I'm in doubt, it shows me I applied the limiter case study. You can also find content about lesson planning. So one way I recommend doing this, if I type in the word lesson planning and then or activity programs, I can get results on either lesson planning or activity programs. And this might be really useful to get more applied articles about application and how you would, do activities in the classroom environment. So if you want something more practical, you can run this search as well. You can always limit, if you need to full text if you only want to see full text content. You can also do thesaurus search from here. So similar to the business, where we go in, this time we go into the thesaurus, and I'm looking for Kolb's experiential learning theory. If I type in Kolb's experiential, let's see what I can find. And I can see, so if it can't locate my term, it'll always locate the most nearest result. So I can tick that, I can add that to my search, and then it will show me a very targeted search that has this subject term linked to articles. And I can start to go, whoops, so I've got all my search results there. I can start to go through those results, and you can see in bold that it's one of the main subjects in these articles. I can also do image search as well, I want to point out, in education research. So wherever the image option is available, in this one I've got image quick view, so it shows me what articles contain images. Again, let's say I'm looking for online learning, and this time I want to limit to diagrams only. So I can limit to a specific image type, and I can go search, and I can see diagrams relevant to online learning, and I can start to go. So it gives me a little thumbnail of the diagrams, and I can start to go through those. So I can have a closer look by clicking on the title. So it shows me this is figure 2. I can see the image there, and I can get a high resolution of the image, but I can also click on the original article if I want to. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is the EBSCO eBooks. So EBSCO eBooks, they have Google integration in the ebook viewer, so you can save pages to the cloud. It shows you the publisher permissions, so how many pages can be saved. There's a citation tool, and you can also download chapters that you can keep. So you have a few different EBSCO ebook collections for different types of subjects. I have a summary in this slide. You can access all of your ebook collections from the EBSCO ebook collection, or you can look at a specific collection. So up to you. I like to put in this slide, it just shows you some of the most popular titles that others in your university have been using from the library. So if you just want to have a look at what's popular, I put this slide in. Now, when you're reading EBSCO ebooks online, you can read them in the online viewer. You don't need to log in to My EBSCO, and you don't need to download anything. You just need to have your computer, access to the internet, and the browser. So I'm going to go into the EBSCO ebook. I'm just going to do it from the databases option here, and I'm going to look at the full EBSCO ebook collection. And I'll go, okay. And so it's really good. It shows me an easy way to browse by category if I wish, and it shows me some highlights as well. So let's say I want to browse by category. I'm looking at education. I click on education as a category. It shows me all the results with books around the topic of education. So if I click on this very first option, for example, I click on the title. So from this detailed record, I see if it's part of a series, and that's linked. So maybe there are other books on that series. I can try and click on that. I can click on the authors to see if there's other ebooks from them in the collection. And I can click on either the subjects or the categories to find similar books. And from here, I've got my publisher permissions option. So it tells me how many pages can I email, print, and save, and this is tied to each session, and how many pages can I copy and paste. So with this particular book, it is also restricted download. So this one, I can only view this one online. So if I go to PDF full text, it opens up as a PDF for me. So I'm waiting for that to load, and now I can view it as a PDF. So a couple of things about the difference between PDF and the EPUB. So PDF will include the page number and you can bookmark pages. EPUB is really good for things like iPads and for mobile devices because it has reflowable text. So by that we mean it can change its size and shape to fit your screen. So I'll wait for this to load if it does. So when I'm in the PDF, for example, I've got my table of contents to the left. I could jump to a particular chapter. And then from the center of the screen, I can go left and right between pages. If it's too big, I could always zoom out and I can scroll downwards as well. I can fit it to width or I can fit it to the page height. And I can go full screen as well on my desktop. Now, a couple of other things I want to point out. If I do want to save pages to download, I've got the save pages. I can click on that and it tells me I've got 100 pages I can save. So whether I'm saving pages, emailing pages, or print pages, it's using from the same limit. So if I save 20 pages, I could only then download between 0 to 80 pages, and it'll keep deducting from there. So when I save a page, I can either save current page and maybe the next several pages, so the next 99 pages, or I could save the section. So let's go to like one of the chapters, for example. I'm going to chapter 5. And then it says here I can save the entire section. So that's 15 pages long. So I go save as PDF, and it will then download that PDF for me. And that's mine to keep. So it's not something I need to return, it's just mine to keep, and I can go through my pages now. So this can be really useful if maybe you only need to read one chapter from an ebook. So you just save it, download it, and then you can read it offline, for example. And you could do that either with the email or the print as well. The cite option is similar to in the EBSCO host databases. It's that auto citation that's generated that you can save. There's also a dictionary inbuilt into the viewer. So if I'm looking for a word, the definition of a word that I've come across, in the ebook, I can type in the word without having to go outside, go to Google or go to a dictionary, and it'll tell me the definition right away. So sometimes that can be really useful. The export, again, is similar to when you have a citation manager and you want to export out to that. There's also the permalink option. So if you want to save this or save a chapter, because it saves according to a page. So if I just want to share this chapter, maybe I'm doing a group assignment and I want everyone should read a certain chapter or so on, and you want to share that, you can. And I did mention there's also the Google Drive integration. Now, other things you can do in the ebook viewer, you can also search within the ebook. So if I'm looking for a particular word, I can see that keyword, how many times does it show up in the ebook and on what pages. So you can look at this as like an index. So when you have an index at the back of a book, this does very much the same thing. And I can use the notes. So if I sign into my EBSCO, I could maybe save a note to a certain page, and I could also use that feature as an bookmark as well. Okay, I'm just going to go back to compare this with the EPUB option. So go back one step. There's also, I mentioned the EPUB, and you might be able to see the difference at a glance. So the EPUB will load up for me. You'll see though that it has the same kind of options, and you'll notice as well, even if I've saved 20 pages from the PDF, it does go back to 100 if I'm going to a different format. So I could save pages from the PDF, I could then go to the EPUB and save additional pages. So I can do that as well. I want to go straight again to chapter 5 to kind of do a comparison. So I'll let that load. Chapter 5, once it loads for me. Sorry, just taking a bit of time to load. I might just go to the cover. Oh, here we go. So I'll go back to chapter 5. Hopefully it loads for me. Okay, so you'll notice that it does, so it doesn't matter how I say I'm viewing it on a laptop, that's the view. But if I'm viewing an iPad, it'd be more like this. And you can sort of see it's still retaining the same size, the same shape, regardless of the screen size. So that's what that EPUB does. But you'll notice it doesn't really have the page numbers. So if I do prefer reading EPUB, but I need to grab page numbers, I can always look at the permalink. So if I click on permalink, it does show me what page I'm on at the very end of that link. So that's one way I can grab the permalink from the PDF, I mean the EPUB. Okay. So main things I want to point out, otherwise you have pretty much the same features as you did with the PDF. Now I'm going to go back to my result list. Let's see if I can find an ebook that I can download to demonstrate to you. So if I choose instead to download an ebook, you can see here if that's available, it shows me full download. So I can click on that. If I do want to download it fully offline on my laptop or desktop, I do have to sign into that My EBSCO account. So it's the same account that we had regardless of whether you're on EBSCO databases or on OneSearch or on eBooks. That same login, you can use it here. And that will allow you to download the ebook offline. So I'm just going to log in again with my Google authentication. And it will then indicate that I can now download it offline. So it should pop up again, but this time when it's loading, it says, okay, you can download the ebook. I can download up to 7 days, so anywhere between 1 and 7 days. So let's say just 1 day. And then with this particular one, I can download either PDF or EPUB. So if I'm using an iPad, maybe I'd prefer to download it as EPUB, for example. But I'm on a laptop, so I'll do PDF. I've got to make sure I have Adobe Digital Edition. So if I don't, I have to click on that link and download it. And once I've downloaded all of that I need, I can then open it. Now, because I've also already got Adobe Digital Editions, it opens up for me in Adobe. So Asma, you've asked, is a separate account needed to access EBSCO? So the separate account is just to enable you to download ebooks or to save articles to a folder for future sessions or to set up alerts. So you don't need it to search. You need it though to store your research and save things to a folder. And to also, as mentioned, use the ebooks, download to ebooks offline on the laptop or desktop. So in my home, I can see all my bookshelves. So all my library ebooks that I've borrowed, and I can go into one of those if I click on it and I can start to read through it using the Adobe Reader. So I've got my table of contents. I can also use a keyword search with the magnifying glass there. And if I want to return a book earlier, so it tells me how many hours I have left for a book, I can return the book. And if I want to remove it, I can remove it. Okay, So another thing to point out with reading books offline is that you will be prompted when you first get Adobe Digital Editions to use Adobe ID. Now you can tick, I want to authorize without an ID, or you can leave that. Now it's good to get Adobe ID if you have multiple devices and you want to easily read the ebook across all those devices. But if you only have one device you're downloading ebooks onto, you just tick, you don't need the Adobe ID. So just to remember that. And these other slides, again, just some guidelines on publisher permissions and guidelines on exporting chapters and pages to PDF. Okay, and I also have a page here about common questions for EBSCO ebooks. So how many ebooks you can download, how long, and if you can also use a mobile app as well. So I do recommend you check out the mobile app. I don't, unfortunately, we'll probably run out of time for the mobile app, but I can send some resources if you're interested in using the mobile app. And I will send out a recording of the session as well. And some help resources are available in this slide about ebooks. So are there any other questions? So that's the main session. And the next thing we'll do is the quiz. But before we jump into the quiz, just want to check if there's any questions about the presentation so far.
Yeah, just more question here. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you. This was a great presentation. Actually, my name is Ding Marial. I just want to say that it was a great presentation because I never had EBSCO before.
Okay.
So my question is this, why is this EBSCO database different from other academic databases?
I guess the difference is the way it looks. So the main difference is the interface is different. So if you go into EBSCO, it looks different. I mean, all databases will have similar features and all databases contain journals, but you'll find that some of the journals and some of the content in EBSCO you won't find in other databases. And that's why it's good to look at multiple databases, because different databases have content that's unique to that database. So for example, in EBSCO, the Harvard Business Review journal is only available for EBSCO. So that's sort of, I guess, the key difference is it's good to use multiple databases to make sure you're searching across many different content possible. The other thing I point out about EBSCO is we do have the relevance system. So we have an algorithm that's used to make sure you get relevant results, and that can be a bit unique to EBSCO. And we also are really careful about how the kind of way we describe each article. So how we assign subjects, how we, I guess, connect all this information back to the search can be a bit unique as well. So I guess that's the main things I'd point out about EBSCO that's a bit different. Hope that helps.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And the second question is this, which group do you recommend, or who are most likely to use this the academic database? Because I think every company, every group, every student always benefit from whatever particular academic base. So because particular myself, I'm in social and behavioral science, which is criminology, criminal justice. Is this website really very good for those things?
Yeah, so I didn't really cover some of those databases, but that's a good point. So if you go back to your library gateway portal, the main collection I would recommend for criminology, for social sciences, is the Academic Search Complete, because it does search across different areas. So you can see here psychology, so criminology is very much part of that. So a lot of social science content, you will find that in Academic Search Complete. So that would be a really good database. But then the other thing I recommend, if you're not sure what database to go into, you can always just go to OneSearch. So let's see if I can go back again to OneSearch. So this OneSearch here searches across all the databases. So this could be probably your best starting point. And then if you want something a bit more, I guess, focused, then you could go to the Academic Search database. So that's in the EBSCO host. So if I go choose databases here, academic search, and also the ebook collection is useful. And because you're sociology, there's also the Soci index with full text. But when in doubt, it does show you really well, I think, inside here in the databases in the Library Gateway portal, a description and the subjects. So it's really, I think, really easy to sort of see what's, I guess, the best ones to use. You can sort of get a sense here. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much for your updating and nice explanation. Go ahead. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yep. So I've got a question from Asma. So when you find difficulty with EBSCO, who should you contact? Yep. So your first contact always would be your librarian and your library. So definitely recommend, if you have any issues or you need a bit of assistance using the databases, do check with your librarians. They're qualified and they're excellent. So they're great they will be able to assist you. Any other questions at all? Okay, so what we'll do, I think, is we'll jump straight in to the quiz now. So here's the quiz time. So with the quiz, there's just a few instructions. You have 5 minutes to complete the quiz, and the quiz is on Microsoft Forms. So the link is here, but you can also use a QR code. Let me see, I might just... So 1 moment, I'll grab that link for you from my presentation here. And I'll pop it into the chat. So, okay. But you can also use the QR code on your screen to access the quiz. So hopefully everyone gets the link in the chat. So when you're ready to start the quiz, I'll give you a couple minutes to open the page for the quiz. And just when you're ready, perhaps just let me know in the chat that you're ready to start. And then I'll put the timer on. So there's going to be 5 questions and there's 5 minutes to answer the quiz. And I'll announce the winner at the very end. Okay, so are we ready to start the quiz?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to start the timer. Okay, there's just less than 1 minute to go. So if you're still working on the quiz, 50 seconds to go. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for participating. So I'm just going to quickly grab the results. And I will then let you know who our winner is. Okay, so our winner is Nurul. Nurul, I hope I pronounced that correctly. So Nurul, you have gotten all 5 questions correct, and you're the only person who've gotten everything correct. So well done.
Miss J,
Yep.
can you exclude the Nurul because she is our librarian?
Okay. I think then the next person is Bilal Ahmad. He's not a librarian, is he?
No, he is our student.
All right. So I think our winner then is Bilal Ahmad. So he's answered 4 correctly and he's done it in the quickest time.
Okay. Congratulations.
But Ada,
Thank you very much.
I'll send you the full list in case you want to award anyone else, because there's a few people that have gotten 4 out of 5. So I'm not sure how many prizes there are, but I'll send you the list with the results and it has the contact details.
Yes, and the winners, I will email the to the winners, so you can collect the present at the library.
Awesome. Okay, so congratulations again. So thank you so much for participating in the quiz. It's great to see so many people participating and giving it a go. And that's the end of my presentation and my training session with you today. So I hope you've gotten a lot of information out of the session. And thank you for coming along.
Thank you, Miss J.
Thank you so much.